I just have a few things I need to say. And some people are going to be upset and some people are going to be wanting to shut me off. And I understand that. But I've been hearing so many people say things that are mean and not very nice. And I'm just tired of it. And I read my Bible cover to cover. And the words that stick out the most to me are the words of Jesus. Even though I don't go to church anymore, even though I don't believe in the entirety of the scriptures, the things that are the most meaningful to me are the words of Jesus. If I were to believe anything at all from the Bible, it would be the words of Jesus. He was the man to believe in. He believed in love and compassion, and he taught a different thing of the time. And he taught his followers that the Pharisees were teaching people to follow a rigorous, foundational, this is what you have to do to get into heaven. It was like, you have to do this and this and this and this and this. And it was divisionary. And that's the kind of thing that Charlie Kirk was saying. He was saying, you have to do this and this and this and this to get into heaven. And he was teaching people that black people were substandard, that, you know, you needed to treat women as substandard. He had a lot of rhetoric that he was spreading. And I'm sorry, but he spread a lot of division. And he debated people hurtful ways. When you look at the things that he said and the way that he said it to people, he would cut them off. He was arrogant, prideful, shameful. When females would come up to him and try and talk, he would cut them off. Every time they would try and debate him, they would be trying to say stuff. He would cut them off in the middle of what they were saying, shut off their mics, not let them speak, and laugh. Everybody else would laugh. And he even said that if he had one of his daughters ever were, 10 years, even at 10 years old, if they were to get raped and get pregnant by that rape, he would force them to carry the baby to term. I mean, disgusting, vile things would come out of his mouth. And people just agreed with him and thought that that was wonderful. I don't see anything biblical about that, not according to the way that Jesus spoke, at least. Because Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers. Jesus said, I can sum up the scriptures in these two commands. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and soul and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And when one of his disciples asked him, who is my neighbor? He responded with a parable. It was a parable of the Good Samaritan. Now, the parable of the Good Samaritan tells us that it doesn't matter whether you agree with the beliefs of the person that you come across or not. If you see somebody hurting, you go to them and you help them. And if you see somebody hurting and you disagree with them and you just ignore them, ignore their needs and walk on by and pretend everything is just fine and just go about your day, you're no better than Charlie Kirk was. Because Charlie Kirk, he ignored the pain and suffering in Gaza for far too long. And, you know, yeah, maybe near the end there, he started to speak up a little bit about Israel, but barely. He didn't say anything. He didn't stand with Gaza, I'm sorry to say. He also didn't stand with black people or with women. He didn't help any of the people that were underprivileged in any way, shape, or form. It was always me, mine, mine, mine. Get yours and get yourself better and pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. That's not Jesus's message. Jesus's message was to help those in need. And that's the complete opposite of what Charlie Kirk's message was. So, you know, when people say MAGA and Charlie Kirk, and they say that MAGA aligned with Charlie Kirk, and that message is the opposite of what Jesus was saying, and people that are MAGA get triggered by this, well, if you're MAGA right now and you get triggered by being called out, it's very easy for you to align your viewpoint differently. If you're MAGA right now and you're triggered, well, it's easy for you to just MAGA, not MAGA, MAGA, not MAGA. If you're considering yourself MAGA right now and you see that, you know, maybe your viewpoints are not lining up properly, and you're realizing, maybe I don't have the same viewpoints as the rest of MAGA. Maybe I realize that my viewpoints aren't biblical, and Jesus's viewpoints are over here. Maybe it's about time for you to step outside and take a look at where your viewpoints are supposed to be and say, maybe I shouldn't consider myself MAGA anymore. And then you won't be so triggered when people say MAGA's viewpoints are wrong. And maybe you won't be so triggered anymore when people start calling out MAGA for the things that are wrong about it. And then you won't be so triggered. We're not saying that everything with Christianity is wrong. We're saying that the people who are in MAGA, who are saying that they're Christians, are not having the right viewpoints on Christianity, because that is Christian nationalism, and it's not true Christianity. True Christianity is about what Jesus actually said. And what Jesus actually taught was about knowing them by their fruits. What are the fruits of the Spirit? The fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I didn't see those things in Charlie Kirk.